The Treaty of Versailles. See, the world has never seen such kind of treaty at all. Why we say that world has never seen such kind of treaty at all is, the Treaty of Versailles is a treaty which was made drastically on one-sided edge. It is in this treaty, this treaty was done in 1919. This treaty was composed in the year 1919 after the First World War. The person or the nation which was made the main reason of the war was Germany. Germany was the only country which is responsible for the World War I. This is the reason put down by the group of nations who conducted or made the Treaty of Versailles. Who conducted the Treaty of Versailles? The five major powers. Conducted the Treaty of Versailles, that is US, UK, France, then we have Italy and Japan. So these five nations are representing a large proportion of the colonial master group, and they have imposed Germany as a diktat. It means like a dictated point that Germany has to follow this. Germany is the main reason which has done of this. Germany has to give off all her colonies which are till 1880, after whatever the colonies that Germany has occupied should be handed over back. Then Alaska and Lorraine has to be given back to France, which were taken by Germany, and the army from 9 lakhs has to be reduced to 1 lakh. Later, we should not maintain more than boats of 12, and at the same time your navy should not increase more than 10,000 plus few boats. And for next 13 years, their natural resources are given to France, Italy and UK to get them exploited, to get their share of the loss which they got. So it is a treaty. When we come to a peace treaty, we have to address the issues which are happened between them. What are the consequences? What are the positives? What are the negatives? What would be the further step that will not address any other future wars? But the Treaty of Versailles is considered as a seed for the Second World War. Why means, analyze it clearly. It was drawn up in 1919, declared only Germany was the reason for the World War I. Then the five major powers of US, UK, France, Italy and Japan came together and imposed this treaty against Germany by taking away all her wings, cutting away all her feathers. The colonies which are occupied after 1918 were taken away back. Alaska and Lorraine were handed over to France. The army, which is very strong army of Germany, from 9 lakhs it was reduced to 1 lakh. The boats capacity was reduced, the naval capacity was reduced, and for 13 years they were asked to pay the war indemnity amount. War indemnity amount. It is nothing but the war loss amount the Germany has to pay for these five big power nations. Do you think is it a right treaty? It is not a right treaty. And after this treaty was formulated, we got the setup of an international organization called League of Nations. This treaty is considered as one of the seeds for Second World War. The League of Nations was set up with an intention of Woodrow Wilson, with the collective security concept. Then all major countries participated. 58 countries were there. The key man who brought this one was Roosevelt. And by the time of Roosevelt period, it was Woodrow Wilson's ideology to have a collective League of Nations. Roosevelt executed this one and got the concept of League of Nations. But in this we have a negative point, is that Germany or Russia were not made as members of the League of Nations. If they are not made as members of the League of Nations, then how can you say that it is a collective security which we are going to provide for them? Even though ideology of Woodrow Wilson was very good, or Roosevelt has come with a good intention to do this one. Now what are the points that they are going to cover here? See, League of Nations is a group of people or big nations which come together and form the major powers. These 5 countries are going to be the key member nations to address any issue which is going to happen in the wars or any kind of incidents, and no further future wars are going to happen for us in any kind of situation. These countries are going to solve the issues and get them a better result without going or resolving into any war. Now once it was done, and League of Nations not only did only the political issues, they also concentrated on the health, administration, then medical, labor, international, court of justice, the League of Nations was not set up only with the ideology of political issues, but health diseases which have triggered after the World War I has to be assessed very clearly. And Japan, where the World War I has brought leukemia and the bomb blast happened and these things, they started to bring some solution for this one, for smallpox, which was recently developed. The health issues were addressed. Administration of the countries which the colonies were taken over from the Britain were handed over to League of Nations to look after them properly and provide democratic setup for them under the guidance of these 5 major powers. Then we got the medical help if necessary for the colonial countries. If they are suffering with any diseases, they are going to provide for them. Then labor laws were calculated and formulated. A specific period of time was to be done basing on the Russian revolt. They got this ideology of this. And then International Court of Justice was made. If any disputes are arising between one country to another country, they can move on to the International Court of Justice and get their issues addressed instead of going to any wars. Like this, they have set up the Treaty of Versailles, which is a disaster, or which is like cutting down all the feathers of Germany. This is one key factor development after the World War I. The other major factor which development was a positive trend was the League of Nations, which was brought with the collective security and addressing many other issues. But coming to the failures of the League of Nations, the League of Nations was successful to a larger extent. It failed in stopping 2 nations, that is Germany and Italy, in their expansion policy, because Germany is not a member of League of Nations. Italy resigned from its membership of League of Nations, and both of them started to do the aggressive nationalism and turned into the diplomats or aggressive militarism attacks and occupied the other nations, which was against the basic norm of the League of Nations. And this is the major factor which guided them towards the World War II.